live.
It's Wednesday night. The dudes are back. Or something that Rob Halford used to say before he would play whatever arena they were in. That's right. Welcome back to another episode of Three Dudes in a Record Store. Host with the least, Greg Horn, the Skip Bayless of music television. At home, but list in hand, as always, the Metal Maniac, who put in a crazy list today, and the legend, B-Meister. What's up, homie?
What's up? So, do people know by now why we're three dudes, but there's only two of us here? So we have an unseen contributor.
Yeah. If you go back to our early episodes, you'll see that we were actually in the record store. That's how we got our name. And there are three of us, so there's three dudes. But since my computer's a hunk of trash, and we generally find that nighttime works the best, and Jay has got 17 kids and 4 jobs, that for the time being, he is always in the picture. I always get his lists. But
And we don't have to be in a record store to be in the spirit of the record store.
Correct.
We're record store people. It's in our mind. It's in our hearts.
The draw to go and visit the house of physical media is always ever present in the lives when you grew up in our era, for sure. Although some people that I know from this era have turned their backs on the. Like, why didn't you call me, bro? I called your entire collection to see what I wanted, and
Yeah.
It's tough. I can't get down with that whole digital medium. I hate it.
Yeah.
Although there are definite holes in my catalog that I don't have that would probably be easier to get if I
was trying to think of that term. What's that term? Like a evil necessity kind of thing.
Oh,
yeah. Sometimes you got to track stuff down online, but it's nothing like going into a real record store. I was just in a record store out of town the other day, and it was refreshing.
Where'd you go?
I went to Reading, a few hours away from here, and there's this one store. It's actually in Anderson, next door to Reading. And I'd met the owner in my shop once before, and I've been wanting to get over and check that place out. I went to Reading because somebody posted a collection online. I went to grab that.
Nice.
Yeah. So it was fun to be in a real record store again, other than my own. And I found some gems.
Yeah, my lady went down to LA to visit some family and hopped into a record store and says, like, is there anything you're looking for? And I'm like, you don't have that kind of time.
You shouldn't ask.
Yeah, like there's a million things I'm looking for. But like I gave her some of the Holy Grail things in there. She was like, yeah, they don't have any of that here. I'm like, yeah, and I don't suppose that anyone will, not for under $50.
It's no offense to my girlfriend. It's not a guy-girl thing. It's just not her world. But she would have a panic attack trying to look for records for me.
There's a part of that which I really enjoy there's certain things I don't want to share with my significant other, because then it's just going to fuel my obsession because I don't have anyone pulling me back off the ledge. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, you don't want to feed this beast because I will spend every cent I have filling out my
Speaking of the
collection.
beast, I don't know how this is going to pan out, but I found a guy who was selling a collection locally here. I don't know why he wasn't able to get rid of it already. I don't know if somebody had looked at it before and said it was garbage, but 2,000 records for $100.
Stop. Even if they're trash, you got to do it, right?
I couldn't pass it up, dude, and I'm desperate for some fresh stock. So tomorrow morning, he's coming to drop off at my garage. I'm going to put it in my garage first to sort through it.
Yeah, you got to go through.
So if 90% of it's not very good, I'm still
that'll be
going
nice.
to come out all right.
That'll be nice. Now that we've filled your ears full of love, our love of physical media, we're going to get right into what we are here for, what you are here for. When you start talking about the major players in the history, in the evolution of heavy metal and hard music. You've got Sabbath, you've got Maiden, maybe some Motorhead,
Some Deep Purple.
some Purple, some Cream, maybe. You've got the mighty Judas Priest.
And I was going to say, we've been putting off the Judas Priest deep dive. This is something we probably talked about from the beginning.
Yeah, it was something that came up pretty early, and what kind of different shows are we going to have? And we love the top 5 format because we get to have so much fun with it. But as you saw last week, you can't do 5 one-hit wonders. And this week, why pick 5 records? Why not just run through the entire discography? So what I did, what Jay did, we took the 18 studio records, and I didn't even realize they had 6 live records. There's only 2 that really matter. So there's a total of 20. And this guy might have a few less. If he doesn't have a relationship with a record, he just doesn't like it.
Yeah, I just went basically the 13 Judas Priest records in my collection that are dear to my heart. So I'm going to rank those. So I guess we just decided we'll kind of start at the bottom with
the start at the very bottom.
The ones I don't have, we'll just count those as my bottoms, and Greg will go through those, and then we'll get to the point where we even out, and we'll just go back to back and forth.
I think where the most fun of this is going to be, especially when I read you Jay's list, is you're going to be thinking about where the things are on your list, and maybe you're sitting at home and now you're thinking, man, what is my favorite Judas Priest record? What if I had to? Because as I was talking with Jay and as we were talking before the show started, when you get to a certain number, like 13, 12, maybe 11, every single the top 11 or 12, you're splitting hairs.
Because this is a band that was consistently amazing,
consistently great,
because they basically wrote the book on how to be a metal band.
Yeah, in my opinion, there are two ways about it. There's the almost bluesy, influency style that Priest really does very well with the twin guitars, and then there's Maiden, who takes that and then varies it a little bit, where theirs sounds more like horses galloping down a hill.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit of a variation, but we'll get into Maiden at another time.
Yeah. Of course, we're going to do a Maiden rundown.
I'm almost positive when we get to Maiden. I think tonight our lists are going to be kind of different, but I think when we get to Maiden, I'm pretty sure our top 3 are going to be the same, but just maybe in different order.
Could be.
I just have
we'll
a
have
feeling.
To see, man.
I think I already know what your favorite Maiden record is.
We've discussed it enough. And Maiden is like, that shit's just in our hearts, in our blood.
Yeah,
it's like so deep. We're just Maiden worshipers.
I can't remember a time where I didn't love that band ever. I was heartbroken when they
and I'm not
for a little bit.
Oh man, and I'm not saying I love Judas Priest any less, but there's something about Maiden where
just a notch.
Sometimes I marvel at how deeply ingrained their music is.
Yeah, I definitely wouldn't want to be without either one, but I think Maiden is a touch. All right, I'm
see both of those bands twice a piece.
Yeah,
I wish I could say more, but
Jay and I
that I got to see them.
Seen both of them together. It's pretty fucking rad.
Man.
Yeah, it definitely doesn't suck. So I'm gonna read Jay's entire list, and we're not gonna break his down the way we break ours. I'm gonna read his entire list.
Yeah.
Jaw agape. I still can't believe this.
So counting down from
at
the bottom.
20, he has Demolition. At 19, Jugulator. All right, so right off the bat, he gets rid of the 2 Ripper Owens, and they may or may not be low on my list. And let me just right out the gate put something to bed. That is no disrespect to Ripper Owens. Incredible voice. Yeah. Love his vocals. Yeah. I can't wait for KK's Priest, that record, to come out.
Oh.
But I don't know.
Is that going to be with Ripper?
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
it's
Okay.
KK. Binks was on drums for a while, but then I think he got hurt and he had to
Okay.
do something. So I think I got a different drummer.
Yeah.
But KK, seriously, KK's Priest. You really missed an opportunity to call it, Priest Defrocked or something like that. It would have been. At 18, he has Firepower. My first little wait, what? Because at 17, he has Nostradamus. I don't know about that. So 16, Redeemer of Souls. 15, Angel of Retribution. 14, Sin After Sin. 13, Unleashed in the East. 12, Rockarola. The first main moment where I was like, what the hell? At number 11, Painkiller. I was like, bro. 10, Point of Entry. 9, Stained Class. 8, Sad Wings of Destiny. 7, Priest Live. 6, British Steel. 5, Hellbent for Leather. 4, Ram It Down. That's super high for Ram It Down.
Yeah.
3, Turbo. 2, Screaming for Vengeance. And number 1, We Are Defenders of the Faith.
Wow. Yeah. Well, I didn't want to jump in there and give anything away, but I think that's what's cool about Jason. He's in his own sphere with this stuff. He likes what he likes.
Constantly
He ranks it
surprising
how he ranks
me.
it.
And for someone that I've known as long as I have, for me to be surprised.
And maybe in some ways, like sometimes I intellectualize this stuff. I go, well, I've got feelings about it, but I also am applying different kind of mathematics to why something fits where it fits. But I think a lot of times Jason's just going off pure feeling.
Yeah. Where was I when the record hit me? What relationship do I have with that album?
Like a lot of us would say Defenders of the Faith is a weaker point because they really succumbed to the 80s pop kind of demand.
They went
and
a
it's
little
not a
bit.
bad record, but it's maybe not their strongest work. But hell, if you're listening to that record going, man, everything hits me a certain way.
Even when they normalized their sound, for lack of a better term, they still did it better than most ever did.
Well, I'm going to talk about that later. That's one of the
I'm glad that you are.
That's one of the strong points about Judas Priest, because there's a moment, I'm giving a little bit away here, but I feel there's a moment where Priest really became Priest. And so we'll get into that.
I think I know exactly what album you're talking about. Anyway, without further ado, so where does your list begin?
At 13.
So you just want me to read until I hit 13?
Yeah.
So at number 20 from 2008, Nostradamus.
Mm-hmm.
If you've seen our past work, you know of my absolute loathing of this record. It's garbage. Failed concept record. It's the final record with KK Downing.
Mm-hmm.
It was their 16th studio release. Number 19, 2001, their 14th release, their second and final album with Ripper. It is the only Judas Priest record to ever be given a parental advisory sticker. Demolition.
Really?
Number 18 from 97, their 13th release, their first with Ripper, Jugulator. It's the only Ripper album I actually own.
Yeah.
I don't... So the problem with Jugulator and with Demolition is it's not that the music is necessarily bad, but that writing style changed. The KK and Glenn and Rob wrote most of the lyrics, and now Rob's influence is gone, and Glenn pretty much does all the writing, and that's just not how they did their thing, and it suffered from there. 17, I've got from 2014, Redeemer of Souls, their 17th release, their first album without KK, and there's nothing on there that really hits me. I don't have a real relationship with it, but hey, it's better than Nostradamus, right?
Sure.
At 16, I've got from 2018 their 18th release, first since in 1988 to be produced by Tom Album, which probably made that a better record than a lot of their stuff that Glenn was producing. But
Which one?
Firepower.
Yeah.
So
that record did get quite a lot of praise.
It was kind of a return to form for them. At 15, from 2005, their 15th studio release, The Return of Rob Halford, Angel of Retribution. Great.
I did think that was a strong record, and I saw them on that tour, and they did a couple tracks from it, and yeah,
I saw them play Ozfest on that record. It was great.
Nice.
Couple notable tracks is Judas Rising and Worth Fighting For, just kind of classic Priest type jams. At number 14 from 1974, their debut, their only record with John Hinch on drums, Rockarola.
Yeah.
Oh, here's the
you have both covers.
Here's the Judas. There's the Angel of Retribution cover, which I dig. I really like that. You can see the priest symbol on the back, kind of tribalized for all you guys that love your tribes. I don't know what tribe you're in, but I mean, whatever works for you. I do not have the cola top cover.
On vinyl, I actually have both of these. I brought the original. But what's cool about this is that artwork.
Yeah.
Because this is kind of a precursor to the kind of artistic style that they would end up going for.
Really, like, they're 2 or 3 releases on Goal Records are all kind of like this style of like retro sci-fi kind of art kind of thing. Like the Hero compilation was this kind of drawing, but with like a Viking dude or whatever.
Like a mix of, it's like a future Frazetta kind of thing.
Rockarola is probably the most notable track on that. It's a little bit, you can see where their influences were. It's kind of bluesy. It's kind of, your list starts at 13. So my 13 from 77 is Sin After Sin, their third release, their first release on a major label. The only record that had Simon Phillips on drums. They could have a whole tap thing with their drummers. Only they weren't dying. They just weren't cutting the mustard.
Yeah, but Simon Phillips was a really good gun.
Like a studio musician.
So good. While a couple of the other drummers they've had maybe had their own personality and fit in with the band well, Simon Phillips had kind of helped them start to really kick into high metal gear.
Notable tracks for me anyway, Sinner. Their cover of Diamonds and Rust, which is awesome. They shortened it. They added their flair. And probably one of the most important tracks they ever recorded, 1977 proto thrash song, Dissonant Aggressor.
I was going to say, if you know Judas Priest, you know exactly what he's about to say. Dissonant Aggressor.
What a 77, bro, like disco era. They come out with that. And my God, that's amazing.
That's not even proto metal. That is metal.
Yeah.
And
full on.
Who famously did a cover of it?
Slayer. And Isma loves Slayer. With all of the advances in technology and all the things they had in hand, they still couldn't
quite hit.
They still couldn't.
It's a Rule and Slayer
love
track.
It.
It's
love
a Rule
it.
and Slayer
Great
track.
But you can see how much that song on that band.
Big time. And for a band who, like you're saying, has progressed metal, has made metal heavier, they still couldn't out heavy Judas Priest on that. They made it almost more of a pop song in a way.
It's with all like
metal pop.
There
song,
wasn't. You didn't have punk to influence your style in 1977. Punk was just kind of getting started. By the time Slayer came around, you had a lot of bands that were kind of had a little punk influence, kind of had a little British heavy metal influence. For them in 77 to come out with to think of doing that,
Yeah.
it's pretty next level. So that was my number 13. So now we can finally get into some.
All right.
Whatever your number 13
Yeah,
is.
so I just ranked the records that I have. I wish I had a few more Judas Priest records, of course. But,
yeah, I gotta fill my. But
I'm a vinyl guy, and a lot of those aren't as easy to collect as.
Make sure you read them in the right order.
Yes. Yeah. So number 13, I got Ram It Down. I think a pretty good record, but not one that I'm drawn to as much. I don't even have favorite tracks on it. I would put it on and enjoy it, and I do think they could have made it at this time, possibly, but
there's an interesting behind the scenes on this record, and when I get to it in my list, I'll explain. But I don't think it's as bad as people.
Yeah, I don't think it's terrible, but I have so many more that rank higher.
I think it gets hate on it because of that Johnny B. Good for
yeah.
Was that movie? I love that movie. Football movie. I think of it. The one with Anthony Michael Hall and
it's
Johnny B. Good.
It's called Johnny B. Good. Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah,
but that was a fun movie.
It's just when you got so many great records for
it's hard, right?
15 to 20 years of a career. You know, I got higher ones on the list.
Yeah. So we're at number 12. So like we said, like when you get up to 12, it's almost like you're splitting hairs. Yeah. So at 12 from 1976, second release, the only album with Alan Moore on drums, Sad Wings of Destiny. So,
some people would rate that
extremely
There's some
high.
people that rate it number 1 or way high up there.
I don't know if I could argue with that, but I'd argue it's not number 1, but if you put it in your top 5, I wouldn't be mad.
Yeah. Well, I could tell you why I don't think on a technical level it's near their best work. They're still kind of exploring who they are, and it's not a super consistent record in my opinion.
It's got some lulls for sure.
I could put it on and listen to it all the way through and love it, and it's got some super high moments. It's not their strongest work, but it's influential and it's iconic for Judas Priest.
We're still in the early ages of metal at all. These guys were all blazing
at
trail.
That point, it would still be considered proto-metal.
It's got the Ripper on it, and it's got Victim of Changes. I mean, how can you get mad at those two classics?
So my number 12, I guess I need to apologize to the Metal Maniac, Defenders of the Faith. I do like this record a lot, but I put it lower because it's I consider this kind of in a trifecta of records from Judas Priest in the 80s, the early 80s run of Priest, that I kind of grouped together, partially for their musical point of view, but also the artwork all kind of goes together. But this has some major tracks. As a kid, Burnin' just ripped.
Remember the video for Love Bites?
Oh, man. Love
being Bites. On MTV constantly.
God, looking at this now, and I'm like... I listened to this a lot as a kid. So Rock Hard Red Free's great, but then you have the Sentinel, Some Heads Are Gonna Roll.
Oh, it's a tune. And the song, When the Night Comes Down.
When the Night Comes Down, and the title track, Defenders of the Faith.
They had a way of crafting a song that's slower in tempo, but you can't label as a power ballad. But The Night Comes Down, like that song is full of emotion. It's slower in tempo. They're letting you kind of but it's heavy as hell.
Yeah.
It's a great track.
And they were also ruling MTV at the time.
Yeah, they were huge on MTV. Yeah. Which was, for a metal band outside of the whole You know,
I should have ranked that higher, maybe, at least for the influence it had on me.
Number 11, going back to 1988, their 11th recording, Ram It Down. Now, I don't dislike this record. I like it a lot. I've shown you this version because I couldn't find it.
Oh,
I found
wow.
a 2-pack.
That's an interesting 2-pack.
Yeah, right? So I couldn't find it on its own.
It's not back-to-back records.
Yeah, it's really weird how they did it, but I found it in a record store used for like $3. So I was like, yep, gonna take it. Got a couple bonus tracks on both records.
Nice.
So I don't dislike this one as much as some. Here's the funny thing is it was going to be a double record called Twin Turbos.
Whoa.
That was the concept.
Whoa.
So Turbo and this record were going to be, and then one record was going to be like the harder edge kind of stuff, and then the other record was going to be the more melodic kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But they scrapped that idea. They split it into Turbo and Ram It Down.
That's interesting to think about too, because it makes me realize that Judas Priest has never had a double album. Not a double studio album.
No, not that I can recall. Not at all. It's got Ram It Down. It's got Hard as Iron. It's got some really great tracks on it.
I wonder if that was like a producer thing. Like, hey, maybe.
Yeah, I don't
know.
I'm glad that they split it the way they split it. But yeah, for sure.
Yeah, Judas Priest doesn't need to be a double album band.
No, like we talked about it before, you know. You put 10 or 11 tracks on it, you're hitting somewhere around 45 to 55 minutes. That's a perfect Judas Priest record.
Yeah.
Just stripped down, no frills.
Yeah.
Coming at you hard and heavy. And
man.
That was number 11.
1974, man, the year I was born. You were already alive for a minute.
2 years.
I didn't know about these guys until probably around 80 or 81. Not to say that I started listening to them then. It was a few years later. But my friend across the street, his older brother, had all the metal posters on the wall. Of course, the poster that he had was British Steel.
Yeah.
That was the first iconic imagery. I'm like, who the heck are these guys? But just the idea that this was starting to happen in 74. And like you said, it's kind of a proto-metal record. The thing that I feel about this, maybe not quite on the same level, but similar to Rush's first record, where it's kind of a standalone. It's kind of brilliant in its own way, but it's not really telling you anything about where this band was going to go. I don't think you can look at that record and then look at the records that came late 80s, like, you know, set all the way to the, you know, maybe 90 and be like, oh yeah, I could see that's where they were projecting. No. So this is kind of a record you put on every once in a while and you go, this is pretty good, but it's just not. It's not
videos of them in that era.
Oh yeah,
hilarious.
Halford was kind of glammy, had longer hair.
Had long hair, and then KK is wearing the weird hat.
Yeah, they're almost coming out of like the acid rock hippie thing into
like psychedelic.
Yeah, it's kind of psychedelic glam or something.
It was
because they were performing on stuff like
Top of
Old
the
Grey Whistle
Test
and Rock the Last and stuff like that. Yeah.
Man, I would love.
But that's something I'm going to get into a little bit more, is just how early Judas Priest, as great as those records are, let's say from Sad Wings through to the end of the 70s, they're still exploring a lot of ideas. So we'll explain that a little bit more.
I don't think that I think bands now have so much back catalog to look at and then discover their sound and figure it out before they even make a record, where a lot of these older bands, they were just kind of figuring it out as they went. There was no cookie cutter. This is what Judas Priest sounds like. Every single record is going to sound like this.
Yeah.
Like they didn't have that. No. They were out on a limb.
Indeed.
Indubitably. Number 10 into the top 10. Going back to 1978, probably my first moment where you're like, wait, what? This is the first of 3 albums with Les Binks on drums. Their 4th studio effort, Stained Class. Once again, this is a great record. And how do you rank amazing record after amazing record after amazing record? Like, how does it hit you? Where does it sit with you? And for me, it just sits a cut below. But Better by You, Better Than Me is on it. Stained Class, Saints in Hell, Beyond the Realms of Death. Like, it's
got some bangers on it, dude.
And that's the record that kind of, when the whole, part of the satanic panic and the backwards masking and all that rigmarole, that's the album that kind of got caught up in it.
Oh yeah,
that's what it went to court over.
What song?
I told that story.
I forget that track.
It's probably Beyond the Realms of Death.
Okay, that is a great record, but again, which is what makes these hard to rank in a lot of ways, is there's no bad songs, but the standout song stands so far out. The rest of it's kind of like, it's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
because there are, like, if you tried to do a greatest hits record, well, you got 3 discs of, holy moly.
So, which one do you think I pick next?
At 10?
Yeah.
Did you pick Stained Class? Oh my God. We're going to do this again, aren't we? People are going to stop believing that we're actually don't talk before we. I'm stunned. I thought you'd have it way higher.
Well, there's other ones that I just had to rank higher, but
okay. So, and Jay had it at 9, so we were all kind of in the same.
To me, Better by You, Better Than Me, I would say is one of their raddest songs. I love that song. It's different. Track. It's a different tune, it's a different kind of vibe. It's not
Saints in Hell.
It's not straight metal
song.
The song's Savage. So Exciter, Invader, Savage. Those are heavy metal tunes. And this is a record I picked up only in the last couple years. At one time, and I went, "What? I don't have that in my collection." I guess maybe I had the CD and didn't have the vinyl. So that pissed me off. Proceeded to order a new copy.
This guy, I was in the shop one time looking at stuff, and I happened to say, like, man, I don't know if I have this or not. I don't want to get it. And then I get home and I got 3 copies of it, which I still do, by the way.
3 copies of which one?
I probably got 3 copies of. At one point in time, I've had 3 copies of Sports by Huey Lewis and the News. But he's like, "Yo, dude, Discogs." Yeah, bro, Discogs. My Discogs is thick. I'll be at a store and I'll look at Discogs and be like, "Do I have this?" Like, "Oh yeah, I've got it."
Oh, you have stuff loaded.
I have
Discogs.
all of it loaded, thanks to you.
That's one of those things I just don't. I don't have the
you
capacity.
You probably can't.
Well, if I with my vinyl collection, if I tried to start now,
it would take you a year.
Or I'd have to.
It took me a week.
I'd have to shut the store down for a year.
It took me a week. It sucked because if it doesn't scan, you got to manually. Oh man, and then find whatever one of 100 versions there are of it, depending on where you are in the world.
I see the value in it, but it's just beyond me. I'm just not that kind of person. But that's okay. I know where all my records are in my collection.
All right, time for my second moment where your jaw drops. 1980, their 6th release, their first with Dave Holland on drums. It can only be the iconic British Steel. Amazing record cover. There's the Slicing Through. It's a great record.
It's an amazing record. It's probably their most iconic. It's probably their most iconic image as an album cover.
100%.
God, I had that belt buckle for a while, but it broke.
That would be dope. I really don't ever need to hear the song "Breaking the Law" ever again in my entire life. That one has been so overplayed, but great record.
There are some songs on there.
"Living After Midnight," "Grinder," "Metal Gods."
Metal Gods, dude.
Okay.
I mean,
Grinder. "Looking for Meat." You know where I'm going with that? Do they owe Rob Halford? Does that site, that app, owe Rob Halford some money?
Oh, there is an app called
Yeah.
that.
For those of you that don't know, Grindr is like a dating app for men.
For gay men?
Yes.
Yeah.
I was trying to find a PC term. I'm not trying to offend anybody.
Yeah, no,
because
there shouldn't be
it doesn't
anything-
bother us.
shouldn't be
Whatever you're
anything
into, you're into.
offensive about that.
Yeah.
I never thought about that. I've
Right?
heard of that app.
They just spell it different. They should be cutting Rob some checks, man.
It's probably Grinder, but just without ER, it's just R.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
You owe Rob Halford some money.
Wow.
He came up with that term in 1980, looking for meat.
Dude.
You'll never hear that song the same way.
That's another thing
again.
that's so beautiful about Halford and Priest is, you know, obviously we know at some point he wasn't afraid to come out and say, this is who I am. But in an era when maybe it wasn't as accepted to put that out there boldly, he was so cleverly writing that shit into their songs.
And it makes some of the songs that he wrote makes it so devastatingly sad. Like Before the Dawn, if you think that's the song's about a girl, you already feel bad. But when you know that he's hiding his entire life,
yeah,
and then he writes that song, which is about somebody he can't be open with, that's devastatingly sad.
Yeah, Freddie Mercury was doing that too, but he was more exuberant in a lot of ways, I think.
Yeah, I don't know that he was open about it, but you were like, I mean,
yeah,
it's no secret that we went to Catholic school, and at no point in any time in my Catholic school history did they ever hammer the home that homosexuality is wrong or any of that kind of stuff. But you just kind of grew up that way and used gay as an adjective. And Halford coming out of the closet and normalizing that, saying, hey, this is just a thing, like it shouldn't be a big deal, I think had a big impact on how accepting I am of other things now, or maybe I wouldn't have been.
And especially as a heavy metal god.
When you're like, you loved him so much, you were like, all right, dude, whatever, I'm down. Let's do this. Like, whatever, I don't care.
Yeah, and any kind of conceptions people would have about pigeonholing people.
Yeah, you can shoo that right out the friggin' window, right?
The dude is a metal god, and it didn't fucking matter what his orientation was. He still ruled. So yeah, thanks Halford for being an inspiration, and thanks to our Catholic school for being a pretty progressive Catholic school, man.
It was
in
pretty
in a lot of ways.
Yeah, they probably weren't advocating, but they definitely weren't hating on it. It wasn't fire and brimstone, and you're going to hell for doing everything kind of shit.
Overall, our Catholic school wasn't the sort of knuckle rapping, mean nuns.
Although we had some crazy mean nuns.
There was a couple.
I think Sister Del Marie still hates me from the other side.
The one that scared me was our second grade teacher.
We didn't have a nun when I was in second grade.
We had Sister Rosemarie, I think. She lived in the convent.
Yeah, I know. I remember her greatly, but I don't think she was
I think she was just kind of. I think we were misunderstanding her in some ways. Maybe I don't know. She seemed way older than she probably was.
Yeah,
it was probably in her 40s or something.
Didn't she teach like choir or something too, like
probably,
singing? Yeah.
And I don't think she could sing.
We tortured that woman. God, I feel so bad. Wherever you are, Sister Maria.
Yeah,
I apologize from the depths of my being.
So you just did British Steel?
Yeah, that was number 9, British Steel.
I'm coming in at 9, 1990, Painkiller.
You and Jay, what the heck?
Well, I mean, I'm just going to keep reiterating. There's so many records that just
there are
that are more meaningful to me. But what I think is significant about this one is this said, we are not slowing down. We are not getting softer. We've been around for 16 plus years. They got heavier.
How name a band that has been around for 2 decades and then creates their heaviest output?
Nobody.
Destroying what everyone thought they knew.
I don't think there's anybody.
No.
And
That's pretty much a thrash album right there.
It's
damn near
it
thrash
is a
record.
thrash record. In the only way that Judas Priest could do a thrash record, or only Judas Priest could do a thrash record like this. It's a record, start to finish. I mean, there's standout songs. I can't even read the back of this. But when I saw Judas Priest the second time, 2016 at the Warfield.
Ooh, that's a good venue.
I know I've told you this. I'll try to keep it short. Rob Halford comes out with a cane.
Willy Wonka style?
Yes, exactly. So beautiful. They ordered the set list in a way to allow him to pull off the I got you stunt of, look, I'm kind of hobbling out on a cane. They always start with Electric Eye. He stands there stoically and sings that. By the third song, you realize, oh, wait, he doesn't have the cane anymore. And the set list just keeps ramping up the intensity, the ferocity of the songs. So about halfway to 2/3 through is when they get to the song Painkiller. And Rob Halford was probably in his early 60s by that point. So he's not super old, but he's an older man. The end of that song, he's screaming Painkiller on his knees at the edge of the stage, just screaming into people's face, I'm a painkiller. And I was there with my cousin Chris, and we were just looking at each other like, this is fucking nuts.
I remember being at Jay's, and we were watching, I think it was Headbangers Ball, because we knew, like, generally you'd see a premiere of a video a couple weeks before or a month before the record would drop.
Yeah.
And they played that video. So I don't know if you remember the video, but there's that entry point where they're the kids in the car and they're stuck in like the traffic jam or whatever.
Man, I don't.
And then that drum starts, and we were like, the fuck is this? This isn't Judas Priest. And they started, we were like, holy shit. Like, hold on to your nuts, son. Like, it's getting crazy.
So you see what we're talking about. It's hard to rank some of these because for that aspect of it, it could be way high. Because how they pulled off something like that when you're not expecting it. It's an amazing
feat for a band of that era.
So, yeah.
And, you know, not to beleaguer the Maiden, but, you know, Maiden had a little bit of, like, not, 16 records deep or whatever, but what, seven records deep, they put out something kind of proggy. So
yeah.
Number 8 from 87, their live album from the 86 Fuel for Life tour in support of Turbo. Priest live. I remember having this on tape and wearing it out.
Same here, dude.
Had like every track you wanted to hear from them.
I was about 12 years old when I picked this up, newly getting into Judas Priest. So when you go to Payless or something to buy a new tape, the fact that it was live didn't make me pause.
Yeah.
I just went, and it had a ton of songs on it. If I had this on vinyl, which I should, I would have ranked it in my list. I played this, when you had a cassette deck that had the auto reverse on it. So I'd be listening to it going to bed at night, just letting it play over and over again.
I can't list notable tracks because every song on the record is a notable track.
Yeah, it's a greatest hits.
What really struck me is you would, for long stretches of time, they would start their live set off with Hellbent for Leather, or they'd start it off with Electric Eye, Hellion going into Electric Eye. They started off with Out in the Cold. Like that little keys section.
Yeah.
And then that drum hit, and you're like, man, for you to start there, like where normally your first one ramps up the crowd and gets them kind of, and then you like save the kind of soft stuff for later. No, they came out and were like, we don't even care. We're going to bust you in the mouth with this first, get you kind of like, and then roll into the set of just nonstop bangers. It's one of the best live records. It's one of my favorite live records. I mean, I don't know the authenticity of how live it really is, but
Well, and the other live one, little giveaway.
We'll talk about it.
But yeah, I mean, I don't think about that in the pantheon of great live records as much, but it's up there, man. I mean,
we can't talk about that without the devastation of having one of our best episodes on Jason's phone, our live albums. I still have my list of live records.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll try to reproduce it. But man, that was a great one. Just for argument on Karate Kid.
Oh, we argued about Karate.
Yeah, I argued why Karate Kid 3 is the superior film.
That's right. I've talked to my kids about that. I'm like, I know this guy that he thinks Karate Kid 3.
It's better.
I bet you can't wait for the next season.
Karate Kid set a negative precedent for humanity by saying the cheater gets to win at the end. He used an illegal head kick. He should have lost. Should have been disqualified. Summer of Johnny Lawrence.
I'm analyzing Karate Kid 3 more on the production and acting in it. That's just cringy to me.
Stop. Cringy. Thomas Ian Griffin is a saint.
Well, I think Ralph Macchio gave probably the worst performance in that.
Well, I mean,
yeah.
Ralph is such a lovable cat. You can't even hate him for it. Like, it doesn't even matter.
But you know what's coming in the next season of Cobra Kai?
I haven't watched any of it. I haven't watched one single episode.
It's actually pretty good.
Yeah, I've heard great things about it. So I love what they're doing with the concept.
So speaking of live albums, 1979, Unleashed in the East. That's kind of cool. We went back to back on the live records.
I love that record.
Man, the one called Live, much more material. It's essentially a greatest hits up to that point. This is them earlier in their career,
with the look they helped create.
Yes, man, for real.
The leather and the
probably
studs
what most people think of when they think of what Rob Halford looks like. This is a phenomenal live record. I mean, I put it on really recently and was like, God damn, this record's so good.
I pull this one out a lot when I'm going somewhere and I just want a Priest record to throw on the stereo in my truck. I grab this one so much.
And earlier you talked about their cover of Diamonds and Rust. I think this is the better version of it, to be honest. They also do a Fleetwood Mac cover on here, the Green Monalishi.
With the two-prong crown.
Man.
That's they kill that song so much. That's
record
better
rules.
Than the original.
And this is kind of like they're only giving you their heavy shit that they did up to that point.
That is all killer, no filler.
Kick-ass live record that, again, is not 100% live, but
we will talk about it. We'll talk about it.
Many iconic live records are not 100% live.
Not Live After Death by Iron Maiden.
That's 100%.
That's 100% live.
Yeah, well, that's Maiden, dude. That's a whole other story.
You can't talk about Priest without Maiden.
I know, because I was going to say the double live one you just had.
I'm not even going to.
Live After Death's right there. All right, so you went
this is my number 7, 79, first live record. It's over 2 nights in Tokyo. Some call it Unleashed in the Studio, which it is, but let's talk about it. All of the music, all the instrumentation on it is a 100% live. From the mouth of the metal, I don't have a reason to think he's lying. Somewhere in the process, his vocals were destroyed. So they tried to reproduce his vocals as live as they could, but they weren't from that night. Yeah. So, it maybe not technically 100% live, but man, Exciter, Running Wild, Sinner, The Ripper, Green Manalishi, Diamonds and Rust, Victims of Changes, Genocide, Tyrant, not one lull.
No.
Just hammers you.
It's an ass-kicking
9
record.
Killer tracks.
It's an ass-kicking record and almost heavier than the original studio tracks.
Oh, when you used to ride the Harley on stage.
Yeah.
I mean, who hates that? Number 7, Unleashed in the East. Go buy it right now if you don't. Go buy it right now if you don't own it.
My number 7, 1986, Turbo. And I don't know, after looking at Defenders of the Faith, maybe I should have swapped these. But Turbo Lover, Private Property, Parental Guidance, Rock You All Around the World. I listen to those songs over and over again.
Out in the Cold is one of my favorite tracks by them.
That's a
ever.
brilliant track.
I love that song.
I honestly haven't listened to that one in a while, but the iconic airbrushed artwork period.
It's Priest with a little bit more melody.
Yeah.
Which I thought was a brilliant infusion of,
Well,
a little bit of synthy goodness. And,
yeah. When you're a brilliant band, you can do that. You can still be heavy and then add melodic pop elements. And is that a stick shift?
I'm going to say that it is, yeah. It looks similar. He's either jamming it into turbo drive. I mean, just the videos that came off that alone were in constant rotation. Again, Priest was one of the first metal bands where they were playing them outside of Headbangers Ball or whatever they were doing metal-wise, 2 hours on a Friday night or whatever.
Yeah. And we haven't even mentioned the point at which their logo, was just kind of perfected like that.
Yeah, it was dope.
One of the coolest logos. Oh, man.
Jay's got that all the way up at number 3.
I know. This record really struck a chord with him.
I do not have it at number 3. I have it at number 6. 1986, their 10th recording. First with guitar synths on it, which I don't hate. I actually really like it. Turbo Lover, Locked In, Parental Guidance, Out in the Cold, Wild Night, Hot and Crazy Days, Hot for Love was a great track. It's a little bit more melodic, a little bit maybe, softer than what they were used to.
Metal, but they weren't doing the hair metal pop.
They weren't
metal
selling
sound.
out as opposed to just kind of, they kind of wrapped themselves into what was going on at the time, Judas Priest style.
And dude,
I dug it.
When you were at the age we were, 12 to 13, 14, a song like Parental Guidance, I mean,
right?
That's,
man, it spoke to you. Spoke to you personally. You were like, yep, I get it, Rob. I know exactly what you're talking about because my parents suck ass too.
I didn't have to rebel against my parents that much. They were pretty chill, but it's still, you're starting to go through those emotions. You want autonomy.
Yes, you remember my mother.
Yeah.
So most of you obviously don't know. My mother was an authoritarian, like crazy until I hit a certain age, and then she stopped really caring. But the one thing that she always did was, you're not allowed to have heavy metal in the house. You can't have it. I won't allow it. Of all the crazy, and I, of course, would look for the craziest thing, and I would play it at full volume. She didn't know the difference. The only 3 records that she ever said, nope, you absolutely cannot listen to them. The first one was I borrowed a vinyl of Kill 'Em All from a friend down the street, Nathan Rosser, and she saw it, and she's like, don't play this. Only off the album cover alone. She didn't know what it was. Just saw That's a Bloody Hammer.
Blood, and it says Kill 'Em All.
Stay Hungry by Twisted Sister.
Yeah.
Again, saw the album cover. And for whatever reason, to this day, I still don't know, and I can't talk to her about it because she's dead. And we didn't really like talking to each other anyway. 5150 by Van Halen.
Wow.
Took it from me. Found the tape in my room, took it.
Did she know
Venom, Slayer, Merciful Fate. I had the plethora of everything satanic in those days, and
like the most benign of all those records.
The summer record that everybody blasts during the summer just makes you feel happy, and it's like, nope, no Van Halen.
Was it because she knew the code 5150 was?
I doubt it. She was dumb as a stump.
I just knew her as the crossing guard and playground monitor.
Ugh.
And she's kind of scared us all.
Yeah, she was
I think all she probably ever did was say, like, stop running, don't do that. But she had a way that was kind of
she was
oh man.
Yeah, good times.
Well, God bless your mom anyway.
Oh, if there is a purgatory, if purgatory exists, if heaven and hell really do exist and purgatory exists, she's 100% there. because God's like, yeah, no, and Satan's like, no, fuck that. You're not allowed in here. You'll take the fuck over. Like, we can't have you in here, man. You need to go somewhere with that shit.
Oh my god.
You scare the fuck out of me.
That's perfect, dude.
Welcome
to purgatory.
We're up to purgatory, bitch.
Man, you already gave some details on this record. This one comes in my number 6, 1981. Like you said, the first Dave Holland on drums. When I started collecting vinyl, I wasn't collecting records like this immediately. And, you know, after my early teenage years of being a young metalhead, got into punk and eventually jazz and other stuff. So this was kind of the beginning of a Judas Priest reaffirmation for me. And I got this on vinyl, and I just played it. And
we went into great detail on the records of your favorite bands that you don't, that you might have forgotten about.
Yeah.
Record.
And for me, one of the greatest songs on here is "You Say Yes." Heading Out to the Highways, classic. Solar Angels
and Desert Plains. Those two songs back to back. It's brilliant.
Damn,
I love it. I love this record.
And then one of the craziest freaking music videos, Hot Rocket.
Dude, what the hell was that all about?
Well, he was putting it out there, man.
Maybe are you taking your lyrics a little too seriously?
I'm talking about the video, dude.
Yeah, but they're in the gym, right?
Yeah.
But that second, like, here's I'm working out.
No, but there's certain ways that scenes are shot.
Yeah, it's a little.
And
he's not. When the cars are racing, he's not driving a car. He's in the middle which is, you know what I mean? You know where we're going with that? Like, he was telling us way before. We weren't paying attention.
Yeah, man. And then also this image that is supposed to be like a highway to a point of
yeah, the European cover is different.
Horizon line.
It's really weird.
That's true. This is the American cover, but you can't tell looking at it on screen. But this is that computer paper with the perforated edges that feeds it through the old printers, dot matrix printers. But it worked to a pretty good effect because it took me years before I even noticed that.
Yeah, how much paper did they use in that damn?
Damn, it took 10 years for that fax to come through. Shit. Point of Entry is a great record, and like you said, one of those ones that people kind of or even sort of badmouth. Like, that's not one of the good. It's a good record, awesome. Man.
I love that record. What am I on? I am at number 5. We're in the top 5 already.
How did that happen?
Number 5. The title was changed in America due to a school shooting. It's from 78. It's their 5th release. It is the very first record where the leather and studs look became prominent. It was called Killing Machine in Europe. Yeah, there we go, baby.
That's my number 5.
In America, it's called Hellbent for Leather, and it is 10 tons of amazing.
Oh my god!
Last studio record with Les Binks. Want to talk about notable songs? Let's just go through the track listing. Delivering the Goods, Evening Star, Hellbent for Leather, Take on the World, Burning Up, Green Man Alishi, Killing Machine, Running Wild, Before the Dawn.
Your edition has the Green Man Alishi.
Yeah.
This LP does not.
It's everything you want a heavy metal record to be. Everything.
Dude, well,
not one bad track.
I want to jump in and say that Delivering the Goods has got to be one of the most kick-ass opening tracks on a record, dude.
Yeah.
Not only is it saying this is how freaking heavy we are, they're delivering the goods.
You wanted metal. We are delivering the goods.
That song is so brilliant.
Like FedEx brings you a package, Priest brings you the fucking metal. Delivering the goods. Look at Rob on the back though, the little scruff on him.
Yeah, he hasn't
lost his hair yet.
He hasn't quite become the leather daddy, but he's getting there. Well, yeah,
man, such a great record. Robert Halford. What an
Record
amazing,
rules so hard.
iconic.
We both hit number 5 with this
Both hit
one.
number 5 with that. We're again on the same page. Let's see if we're on the. Well, no, we're not going to be on the same page for number 4 because somehow you.
Yeah, we're divergent
dropped
a little
this
bit here.
so low. I just don't. 1984. I was 12 years old, young lad, starting to. Didn't even have Scruff on my nuts yet. Their 9th studio release, Defender. Just an incredible record, especially for being 12 years old and just being like, "Oh my god!"
I'm going to
10 tons of amazing.
I'm going to publicly flog myself right now. I misranked this album.
That's what's so great about this show is that you're sitting home alone, you rank this stuff, and then you start talking about it, and you're like, "Man, maybe should I have?" That's what's so.
Because I was a little too late for British Steel. I was a little bit too late for that. Even Screaming for Vengeance was just a little ahead of my time. So this, MTV was playing the videos.
It was everywhere.
I was on the Columbia House Tape Club.
Shirts were everywhere.
This artwork was iconic.
Posters were everywhere.
And it meant everything to me, man.
They were in the iconography of the world at this point.
Yeah.
This is an amazing
sometimes
record.
I still just stare at that whole what's going on with this beast. It's not just a beast. It's like it's a tank.
I should have really compiled a list of opening tracks. If you look at every single Priest record and look at how they start the record off, again, with this record, starting off with an absolute bang. Free Will Burning is your opening salvo. Jawbreaker, Ride Hard, Ride Free, The Sentinel, which is amazing. Love Bites, of course. Eat Me Alive, Some Heads Are Gonna Roll. Night Comes Down, Heavy Duty. Ends it with We Are Defenders of the Faith.
That is a pound for pound.
And they got
just perfect
the little, you can see they were really going with that little symbol right there. They got their little rising from the darkness where hell hath no mercy. The screams of vengeance echo on forever. Only those who keep the faith shall escape the wrath of the Metallion, master of all metal. Like they were starting to get some craziness going.
You could put on Free Will Burning. You could put on Free Will Burning and give any early thrash a run for its money.
Yeah.
And that was metal. And we haven't even talked about the name Judas Priest. One of the greatest names for a rock band.
My mom used to use that term all the time, like Judas Priest. And I thought she was like, yeah, Mom, go. Like, Judas Priest is awesome. Like, I didn't know it was a saying. Yeah, I didn't know it was a saying. And all of a sudden, like, yeah, hell yeah, Judas Priest, what the fuck, let's go.
It just rolls off real easy. It sounds metal. It sounds just tough. And it's not a name that you could ever go, yeah, it's cool because I associate it with that band. It's just a perfect name, man.
Some bands hit that naming thing epically perfect. You think of a band like Metallica or Black Sabbath or Armored Saint. Like a lot of these bands,
Iron Maiden, of course.
Yeah, they were like, man, you just hit it. You hit it out of the metal church. You hit it out of the park.
Not like Helix,
Limp Bizkit. Saxon was another great. Love that.
It's just gotta have that. I don't know. A lot of those bands did come up with good names. Unfortunately, bands later on, it's like, all the good names are taken.
Yeah.
Yeah, Limp Bizkit, Korn with a K. Well, I was just listening to that thing about new metal.
We can put out an album. We'll call it Asparagus with a Z.
Asparagus.
I want to get them on the veggie metal.
Yeah, why isn't that?
Peas. Fucking Mashed Potatoes is on tour with Peas this summer. Hope some Korn jumps in. Get instead of Ozfest, it's Asparagus.
Veggie metal. Oh my god.
I'm not even high. I don't know where this shit comes from.
Either, dude.
It's like Veggie Tales for kids, but for adults.
We do have to do an album art.
Absolutely.
We have,
Fuck yeah.
we haven't talked about that. We got to do an
Hell
album
yeah.
art.
Man,
All right.
we can't do 5 at that point. On that one, we'll have to do like 10 or 15.
You ranked this one much lower.
I did. I saw what you pulled out.
1977. This is in a period when Judas Priest, their records weren't completely consistent with bangers. Nothing bad on them, but sometimes they have a little lull. Some tracks.
Jay
that don't
ranked it
stand out
higher
much.
too, though. Like you
But
guys both had it.
The reason,
high.
there's one reason I ranked this high. I love the whole record, but it's because of Dissonant Aggressor.
Yeah.
There's other great songs. Obviously, that Diamonds and Rust is pretty cool. Sinner is a great tune.
I even like Last Rose of Summer.
Sure.
I don't
Yeah.
know. I like that
Again,
one
going
too.
back to opening tracks, they knew how to open.
They
a record,
knew how to
too.
open a record.
So Sinner is a great tune, but Dissident Aggressor, you know, like I said before, I don't feel like they were fully codified I want to say, as a metal band. They're definitely proto-metal. They inspired the whole new wave of British heavy metal. To me, they really created the template for what would become metal. But Dissident Aggressor is one of the heaviest songs ever written.
Man,
these guys
that
did
scream and that guitar opening on that in '77, that must have
the
blew
cadence of the
people's
vocals,
minds.
the guttural thrust of the vocals. I mean, Halford is the metal god on vocals, and I think we all know it. And the dude still, his pipes are still fucking finely tuned. So
That's an amazing
I rank that high because I think it's a heavily influential point.
I definitely agree with everything you're saying. I think for me where the disconnect comes in on how I rank that record is, although that song is massively influential and incredibly important in metal history, I think the record as a whole, I don't
you're not
reach
putting that
for
one
as
on
much.
and listening to it over and over again. I get that.
You know, if I was making a tape with all of my important Priest songs, there would be a couple from record on
Sometimes
there.
when we're ranking records, I'm thinking to myself, is it about my personal favorites, my emotional favorites? Is it about their best?
How
or is it
important
about
it is for the time?
It's important.
Try to make an amalgam of all those.
That's what I'm trying to do too. I might have let something get in the way there, but
tapped on this one a little bit, and we've obviously talked about this one in other shows. From 1981, their 7th release, a little bit more radio friendly than British Steel, which is why there's kind of like a disconnect with it. Heading the Point of Entry.
Yeah, so you ranked it even higher.
I really, 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 really like this record. I really like this record. I reach for this record a lot. A little bit more melodic, a little bit. It's still heavy. It's still got great tunes. Heading Out to the Highway, Don't Go, Hot Rock, and Turning Circles, Desert Plains, Solar Angels, You Say Yes, All the Way, Troubleshooter, On the Run. Not one bad song. You don't skip one track on this whole record.
No.
And it gets lost in the shuffle between a couple absolutely amazing records, and then it gets overlooked. But I think that it's a lot better than people give it credit for.
Way better than people give it credit for.
One of my absolute favorites, and I'll leave it at that. And you can probably figure out what my top 2 are by now if you're doing the math at home. And I think I know what your number 1 is again. I just can't figure out what the other one is. I don't know what you left off.
Yeah, you haven't figured out what I haven't pulled out.
I think I know exactly what your number 1 is. Yep, I know exactly.
I'm at number 3. And I put Sad Wings of Destiny, and again, I let my feelings about its influence, its importance in the history, kind of override my actual taste and emotional connection to it.
Well, Sad Wings was Jay's number 8. So,
Dreamer Deceiver's a great song.
Tyrant.
Ripper is a killer tune. But Victim of Changes is the song that
so what do you call it? Is it the mandala effect?
Yeah, the Mandela effect.
Yes.
Not Mandala, Mandela.
So it's Sinbad was in you know what I'm saying? He was in a
that's the
genie
Mandela
movie.
effect. Uh-huh.
So somewhere in my brain, I want to sit down with Sebastian Bach because I swear I've heard him do a cover when Skid Row did that album of covers. I swear there was a Victim of Changes.
Wow.
But I can't find it anywhere.
I don't know because I haven't even listened to that.
Yeah. But if there was someone else that was going to hit that,
and it was Skid Row with Sebastian Bach. Yep.
Because they did, what was it, B-Sides Ourselves or whatever.
Oh.
But
no doubt.
The track, the Judas Priest track on that record is not Victim of Changes, but I swear I've seen him.
Interesting. Yeah.
But that song is like you couldn't even think about hitting that note.
No. And it's an epic song. It's like a good 8-minute song. It just, I think the way I'm going to say it is that song kind of just blew doors. Just like, what the hell?
Have you ever watched people like? There's a couple of different ways you can do it. There's people that you wouldn't think that would listen to that type of music, and then they watch something for the first time and you see their reaction. But there's also people that are singing teachers or them watching things for. So a couple of them have done that song, and one of them did it from the live version from the US Festival.
Okay. Yeah.
And you see her jaw just, because she thinks you always think you hit that crescendo. And then as fans, we know what's coming. It's like, oh, hold on to your seatbelt because he didn't even hit it yet.
Yeah, yeah.
And then he hits that note and you see him go bug-eyed and be like, what the hell am I listening to? Yeah, it's amazing. At any point in your
it's an incredible piece of music that somehow the direction of heavy music going towards heavy metal may not have happened without that song, I think, So yeah, Sad Wings of Destiny, a lot of people rate it very high. It's an iconic kind of changing of the DNA of heavy music. So that's how I factored it in.
Top 2. When I got to my top 2, this is where it was all hard, and then I got to my top 2 and it was almost impossible. And I think I just made a decision, and I don't know if I made the right one or the wrong one, but it's just the decision I made, so I'm going to roll with it now. Because forever, my entire life, my very favorite Judas Priest record is now sitting at number 2. I don't know how it happened. It just did. From 1982, I was 10 years old. I can remember this like it was yesterday. Their 8th recording. It is considered their commercial breakthrough. And it was everywhere. Screaming for Vengeance. Again, amazing cover. It starts with the Hellion, right into Electric Eye, Riding on the Wind, Bloodstone, Take These Chains, Pain and Pleasure, which I could probably do without. Screaming for Vengeance, right into one of my favorite Judas Priest songs of all time. You've Got Another Thing Coming.
Oh,
Fever, Devil's Child. It's an amazing record. You've Got Another Thing Coming. It's probably been played 1.5 million times, and I never ever get tired of it. That chugging riff, it's everything you want. It's awesome, and it's red and yellow, so it probably makes you hungry.
I never thought about that.
Number 2, I can't believe I put it at number 2 for my entire life. It's always been my absolute favorite Judas Priest record. So,
if I didn't have eyes, I wouldn't.
No, you can. At this point, what's you've deducted.
Yeah,
you've done the math. You figured it out.
I didn't even do the math, but I see it.
Yeah,
and so I'm a little perplexed. But you'll explain yourself.
I will.
So I
knew it.
Number 2. And well, do I need to say the title? We know what it is. British Steel.
Massive record.
Man,
Massive
between
record.
this and my number one, it's kind of like, well, they're not back-to-back records, but they kind of dovetail in a while because this signals.
Yeah, because it went British, then Point of Entry, then,
yeah. But this, to me, at least in my mind, kind of signals leaving behind everything they had been doing, kind of working up to becoming the band that they would be basically for the rest of their career. The cover art's iconic. Breaking the Law, like you said, we probably don't need to hear that again, but it's not a bad song.
No, not at all.
But then you get to Metal Gods Grinder back to back. Grinder we talked about. But the riff, man.
Yeah.
But Metal Gods, man. I've seen them twice live. You've seen them. When they come out with Metal Gods, everyone's just
everybody freaks out. But I think
that one of their most anthemic.
This record, for whatever reason, that this record propelled them into Point of Entry, and then Point of Entry they like, but it doesn't commercially do as much. So that then gives us, Screaming.
Yeah.
So you can see their evolution with every single record. It's all leading to where they're going. Man. But yeah, this is a phenomenally important record in the history of heavy metal.
Indeed. It's again, I've said it too many times, probably the template of metal. But then you get to a song like United, which is a different kind of anthemic song.
Yeah.
United We Stand.
They were on top of the pops with that.
Yeah, and so they were still playing around with lots of styles.
Yeah.
And something I was going to mention, there's a great song that unfortunately I can't think of which one it is at this moment, but a great song in this era of Priest where it's basically got like a reggae groove to it. They were playing around with pop, with maybe radio friendly stuff, but I don't think they were trying hard to be radio friendly. They probably wanted to be a great, loved band, but that's one of the things that I find so beautiful about Judas Priest is they will always and only be associated with metal. They're at the very foundation of metal, yet in those early years, they had this kind of eclecticism to their expression that
they didn't want to be pigeonholed, but they always wore that on their sleeve. Yes, yeah. We are where you see bands like Def Leppard say, no, we weren't a heavy metal band, or we weren't this, we weren't that.
Yeah.
Priest always has been, we were heavy metal. We're fucking proud of it.
Yeah. And so, and like I said, that was the first imagery, seeing a poster of that on a wall.
Yeah, it was everywhere.
And even though I wasn't old enough to really, start collecting my own music and stuff, I was intrigued. And so that's how I put that one at number 2.
It's probably no surprise that for 2 weeks in a row, my number 2 is going to be his top pick, but my number 1 comes out of fucking left field.
I want to hear the argument for this number 1 here.
I had a fairly difficult childhood. I have struggles with my mental health. I had probably not the greatest of parents. They weren't horrible. I mean, I wasn't kept in a box or a closet or anything, but it wasn't great. In 1990 is when I graduated from high school, and you're right on the cusp of leaving everything that you've known behind to go strike your own path in the world. And it's all things. It's exciting yet terrifying. You don't know what tomorrow's going to bring. And then a band that your entire life practically, since you've been listening to music, completely reinvents themselves. After a long deliberation, the best Judas Priest record is Painkiller.
I respect it.
An unbelievably savage output from a band who, while they did not want to be pigeonholed, you didn't think this was coming. this is harder, faster, more aggressive than anything they've ever put out. It was 10 times better than I could. If you would have let me try to craft what I thought a Priest record should be, I'd have been like, yeah, let's make it harder. Let's make it more aggressive. Let's make it thrashy. Let's make it. But at 12 studio records into your career, when most bands are just being like, let's just do, what the minimum, make some bucks, and nah.
Do you think 12 records in, Metallica could have found a way to be heavier?
No, because we know that they can't. They can't reproduce the first 4.
No.
This album is nuts. I'm just letting that sit up there because that album cover is dope.
Yeah.
It's their first record with Scott Travis, and I will not minimize his.
I'm glad you brought that up.
Without Scott Travis, this record doesn't exist. It just can't.
Used to play with
Racer X.
Racer X, phenomenal drummer, dude. And I'm not saying that we know they couldn't have made this record without him, but I think his
playing, his dynamic style, and his double bass, and all the things that he does on drums that the other guys couldn't do or didn't do or didn't want to do, or for whatever reason, they were able to go from that bluesy based metal kind of genre that we love into this juggernaut of epic. It was the last studio record with Halford until 2005 when he came back with Angel Retribution. His Travis's double drum style opened up their entire what they can do with their sound, and Painkiller, All Guns Blazing, Touch of Evil, One Shot at Glory.
Is a great tune.
I go on and
dude, they play Touch of Evil live. That is a great tune.
Metal Meltdown, Nightcrawler, Between the Hammer and the Anvil, Battle Hymn.
Yeah.
Man. Hell Patrol. He's in his screaming glory on this.
I hate to be obsessively repetitious, but everything you're saying, dude, getting harder and more muscly. And like
they were 12 records in. 12 records in. Their first record was in 74? Their first record was in 74.
Yeah.
There might have been 4 metal records out at the time. For your 12th studio record, almost 2 decades into your career.
And when you're the older generation, you're the one who kind of paved the way, but the kids come along and start, move out of the way, old man. And the old man goes, "What, you think I can't do that?" That's Judas Priest. That's Rob Halford right there, man.
Jay, 11? 11? Come on,
Turbo, bro. Dude.
I love Turbo. It was like number 5.
All right, so don't even need to introduce it.
It's fucking brilliant. I love it.
We already talked about how jam-packed this is, front to end with great tunes, but I'm just going to explain my thinking a little bit more.
Well, yeah, because it was my number 1 for forever.
Yeah, the Hellion Electric Eye opening banger, like they do on all their records. They open with just a ripping tune. And I was kind of talking about this with the earlier eclecticism, and then playing around with different styles within their kind of heavy milieu. To me, this is when they figured out how to homogenize it all into what Judas Priest would be. Not to say that they didn't evolve it and advance it. Obviously, Painkiller, they come out, 8 years later and take it to the next level. But this is when they became a de facto heavy metal band that was setting the stage, that was saying, we're the freaking inventors of this shit.
82 they blew the glass ceiling up of how popular a metal band could be.
That's a great point too.
Nobody
That is a
had
great point.
the success that they had, and this record blew the doors off everything and really brought metal to the forefront where executives or label guys could be like, oh, we can bank on this.
Do you think MTV's Headbangers Ball would exist without this shit, man?
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
Here's my only detraction. So if you're a metalhead like we are, you remember the amazing run of Maiden album covers because their artist was the same until they had a fallout with him, and then all their record covers have pretty much sucked from there. But these are the really only two consistent. I would have loved to see this dude do their record covers for the rest of their career and have them kind of be, so you're some
saying
type
once they got
whoever this artist was. I apologize for not knowing
they
your
came
name.
in with Jugulator and Beyond.
Yeah, like if so this is 82, this is 84, then if the rest of their record covers had these same type of album covers.
I think some of that might have to do with the fact that is the CD era and CD cover art became digital.
Maybe.
At least if you weren't using like a photograph. I don't know. You're right. They were trying to maintain
some continuity,
but with new artist and new interpretation of it.
I don't hate their album covers or anything. I just would have loved to see.
No, but ones up to that point, the conceptual quality of all their album covers was so spot on, iconic. It added to the whole definitive Judas Priest thing. All right, well, not much more to say about Judas Priest, I guess. Just if you're not a hardcore fan of Judas Priest, I'm not gonna try to browbeat you, but think about really giving a deep dive consideration of how great their music is.
I think when you get to where we are in age with living through the eras that we've lived in, there's a certain level of, you see the younger generations, they can see everything where we didn't get to see that because we were living it. So they get to see that and they're like, well, this isn't so good, or that maybe isn't this or that. It's like you're taking it out of the era it came in. You don't understand the context of which, I think we say that a lot, but especially with bands like Priest and Sabbath and Maiden, some of those early guys, early Motorhead. I'm not a huge fan of Motorhead, their later output, but their early records are amazing.
Yeah, well, there's just too much Motorhead to absorb, I think.
But you're like, you can't take an album like Sin After Sin or when you take that out of context, so it doesn't sound like a metal record today, but for what it was at the time, it was, it blew minds.
You have to understand what breaking a mold is, what changing the course of things is, and so many of the bands that are from our era, or we were close enough to them still existing and having a resounding impression on things, we felt that, just cracking the sky open and changing the world forever would
in 1982 when Screaming for Vengeance blew up, pretty much every metal band that came on afterwards owes Priest a debt of gratitude for breaking the mold of what the tiny little box that people had heavy metal put in.
Dude, Metallica cites all the new wave of British heavy metal bands and stuff, but I bet Priest is the biggest influence on that band.
Yeah.
Listen to early Soundgarden. Priest is a huge influence. You don't even have to be a hardcore metal worshiper. Priest is a brilliant band that, like you said, managed to combine the heaviness of metal with catchy pop sensibilities and still be the heaviest thing going.
So what are we going to do for 5 things? We're going to stay on the metal If you like your metal a little bit more Viking-esque, get some Amon
A
Amarth.
band that I know you love that I
Yeah.
I don't know those guys, man.
If you,
I need
mean,
to
I'm not
listen to these
I'm
guys.
not a drinker, but man, this makes you want to grab a battle axe and get some ale and smash some horns
Get some
and
mead.
get some Viking on. Every time I think I want to cut my beard, I'll put one of their videos on and be like, it's
Okay,
awesome.
okay.
It's like, it's war and death and destruction and devastation, and it's unbelievably catchy, and they're really awesome. So give them a spin.
They're no Manowar, but
God, yeah, I don't know what's coming. All right, on my Amon Amarth albums, if anybody wants to buy them. If you are into death metal and you want to rock hard, you need to look further than about 5 hours down the road to Oakland's own Necrot.
okay.
Fucking amazing. This is like their second record. They are awesome.
I think I just ordered a Necrot record for the store.
If it's CD, it's their first one.
No,
I want it.
LP.
All right. Their first record I need to get. I think this is their second
Okay.
one. If you want to go back in time to about 88, you know what it is already. One of the most unbelievably brutal, epic records to ever be released. I love this record so much. Pestilence.
Yeah. I'm actually not really familiar with it. I know of them.
This is such a brutal,
I need that.
awesome album.
Fire ants crawling all over the guy's face.
Yeah, pick this up. Consuming Impulse.
Those guys look legit.
Super awesome. Unbelievable. This lead singer of this band passed away not too long ago, maybe a handful of years ago. Death metal kind of gets put into like little. I never really understood why more people didn't put horror themed aspects into death metal, but Necrophagia did, and a lot of their stuff is horror movie themed, and it's so awesome. Phil Anselmo has played in different variations of this band. One of my favorite tunes is Cannibal Holocaust because it's one of my favorite horror movies ever. But these guys are awesome. Not only awesome and brutal, but they're just a ton of fun.
What time period is this?
They were recording all the way up to 14 or 15 before their lead singer died. Thanks to one of my endearing loves, Sam Dunn and Banger Television, and reviews that they do, I learned about a new band that I heard on their thing and picked up their album the very next day. It is Cryptosis.
Wow.
A brand new band. I want to say they're out of Canada, but don't quote me on that. I don't even know what to say about this. Pick this shit up. It is epic. It's brutal. It's heavy.
They talked about it on Banger TV.
Yeah, it's metal. It's almost like if you took Death and Dream Theater somehow and combined them and made them super fucking awesome.
Some kind of progressive extreme metal.
Yeah, it's amazing. You got to give these dudes a listen. They're awesome.
Nice.
That's it. Those are 5 things of hundreds of things I could pick from this.
Well, so how do we feel about our Judas Priest deep dive? I feel good.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I think maybe for the second week in a row, I probably should have flipped my 1 and 2.
Yeah, but
I feel good about it. I feel all right.
I made a couple wrong moves in there too, I think, but
and
hopefully we were informative.
Yeah,
maybe
did this make you want to
uninitiated
listen? Once again, please hit the like, hit the subscribe, smash the button, get the bell, get notified when we're rolling videos.
There's got to be some Priest fans out there that
in the comments,
criticize our list.
Tell us why your list is right and our list is wrong, or why you like this more than the other. And tell us your story about how you got into Priest, or when the first time you saw him live, or let's get talking in the comments. Let's get this channel to be as big as we want it to be, to where we get trolled by hams or whatever.
Yeah, that's our ultimate goal.
Yeah, right. And get me on Sea of Tranquility.
Yeah.
So I can school those fools about some metal.
Yeah. No, we love Sea of Tranquility.
Love it. I love that
Love
channel.
to hang out and talk with that guy.
I love that guy. Yeah. All right.
All
We don't
right,
even
everybody.
know. This is another week where we have zero idea what we're going to do for next week.
Yeah.
We'll figure it out.
We'll figure it out. It'll be, hopefully.
Until then, my friends, listen to all the Judas Priest you can get your hands on. Fuck Amazon. Long live independent record stores. Long live physical media. Horns up. Till next week.